All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I have Mindaugas as well as AJ and Mikhail from the ecosystem development team joining me to get some commentary and just discussion going regarding this Eduseries article. We're going to be doing the live reading and having some discussion, answering some questions from the community. Thank you guys for joining me today. I really appreciate it, team, um, as well as the rest of you all for tuning in for the Eduseries for the SIPA Revolution and a New Golden Age for Innovation article reading. Let's go ahead and dive into the first chapter. So, I'm not going to read just the beginning thing because it just talks about how we kicked off from the last article. So, let's begin by making one thing very clear. The InvArch network is anything but just another blockchain. InvArch is pushing the bounds of Web3 by taking existing concepts and challenging them to be different and better. By unlocking new doors and redefining what's possible, InvArch will revolutionize the worlds of technical development and real-world collaboration down to their very core. Palette IPT 2.0 and sub-assets, realizing the power of multi-tiered assets. There's also a little visual here in the article for those of you who are watching this video on YouTube. Following up on the novel approaches to data composability, copyright licensing, and non-fungible asset structures covered in InvArch Eduseries 3, Web3's superhighway and the future of transporting IP rights, the InvArch network seeks to revolutionize digital assets even further. While non-fungible assets are the foundation of the InV4 protocol, the fungible assets pegged to them give them extraordinary power. We're not simply talking about a single class of fungible tokens pegged to an IP set representing fractional ownership. This is more than refungible tokens. The InvArch network will introduce the ability to have multiple tiers of different fungible assets to be pegged to the same root IPS. For those of you who are asking questions like, what exactly does this mean? And what is the significance? Let's dive down this rabbit hole, shall we? Spoiler, the potentially is absolutely bonkers and just as equally exciting. Let's review what refungible tokens, or RFTs as we like to refer to them, are. An RFT is when a fungible asset owns a non-fungible token, or NFT as we're all very commonly familiar with, thus making the NFT fungible once again. The concept for such technology was first introduced back in 2018 by Billy Rennekamp, and readers can find a more thorough review below. There's an article here tagged, so if you guys want to get more into RFTs, there's an article available on our Medium inside of this article. Fun fact, RFTs and multi-signature functionality already exists on InvArch and can be tested on the InvArch Tinkernet chain. By the way, the Tinkernet chain will be coming back permanently. Here's a friendly little visual for you guys representing AROs, asset representing ownership. We'll begin by explaining how a single tier of fungible tokens can be powerful and applied to the real world. So just 3 examples right off the bat. Real estate. Land deeds could have their own ownership divided into multiple shares. These shares could then be sold on real estate marketplaces and added to individual investment portfolios. Joint financing. Auto loan agreements could be fractionalized amongst multiple parties. This would allow for decentralized organizations to fund and jointly launch car sharing services. And copyright ownership. Joint copyright agreements could be easily managed. This would allow separate entities to hold legal ownership and share their claims to royalties. Now, the aforementioned use cases are compelling, practical, and are only a portion of the unrealized possibilities. However, as is the spirit of the network, InvArch seeks to challenge the technologies of RFTs to be even better. So we ask, if RFTs are fungible tokens owning an NFT, what if that same NFT owned its fungible tokens simultaneously? What if there were multiple tiers of fungible assets or the ability to separate and organize individual utilities among different fungible tokens? What if we approach fungible assets with the same endeavors for composability as we do with NFTs? Here's another little visual for those of you watching on YouTube. Excuse me. The result is sub-assets. Let's explore the use cases that illustrate the extraordinary potential for these sub-assets, which are also multiple tiers of fungible tokens. Scaled staking. For example, individuals could earn 10% APY on an IPT1. Now let's say that for every 10,800 blocks, a user stakes 100 plus IPT1. They're given an IPT2. Now let's say for that every IPT2 a user holds, they get a 0.25% increase in staking rewards that, let's say, caps out at 5%. This allows projects to incentivize and encourage long-term staking. Security firewalls. Websites and applications, both buildable using tokenized IP sets, could have different content, web pages, and features providing depending on the tier of a user's access token. This could be applied to subscription services as well. And then DAO structures. Different tokens would provide access to different channels and provide the ability to separate which users can vote on which matters. This makes multi-layer governance extremely easy to establish. This also allows the ability to separate the different utilities and access in decentralized applications. However, one of the most potent possibilities may be the inclusion of SIPA protocols. Before we get into that, guys, I want to go ahead and ask some questions, get into what you guys think. So, when it comes to RFTs, um, whenever we introduced them to InvArch and realized the potential of bringing them into what we're doing and applying them to our technology and protocol, what did you guys think was going to be that first initial commentary from the community when they fully grasped what we were doing with this technology? AJ, Electrovinic, or Mindaugas, any one of you guys? That was just a general question.
I actually wanted to go back a bit, so maybe AJ or Mikhail could answer this question, but I wanted to go back a bit. I guess for everyone it was too much at first, and we should go back to very specific those three examples. I want the community to be 100% sure they do understand what we meant by three very specific examples back there. But maybe let's finish with the questions that has been raised right now.
Okay. Yeah, we can get back to the original question. I agree. We definitely want to touch more on the three specific examples that's listed here, as far as like explaining how single tier fungible tokens can be powerful and applied to the real world. Um, Real estate, for one, that's honestly, in my opinion, that one or the copyright ownership. I think the copyright ownership is probably the most exciting one of these possibilities that we've realized with this technology and protocol. Being able to just jointly copyright like agreements and have them be easily managed and held by separate entities. That alone, whenever I was like first being introduced to the potential of InvArch, this was like one of the initial things that we didn't realize it this far, but this was something that was initially being talked about. And to see how far we've come with just being like a hub for innovation to protecting the intellectual property right and now allowing like joint copyright ownership, it's just really motivational to see how far we've come as a project. And honestly, the technologies that we're helping develop, I think, is going to provide just such a major shift economically that we haven't seen in a while. What are some of your guys' opinions, the rest of the ecosystem team, on the just three specific examples between real estate, joint financing, and
Yeah,
copyright ownership?
for me personally, is this joint agreements and the royalties. I think sometimes usually people they think I have this amazing idea, but usually it's teamwork that gets those ideas actually done.
Right.
And then you can do this. Sometimes business doesn't go well, or people get rich and they don't want to share the things with those friends. You have your we all have this amazing story where like you have your best friend and like you have business together, and then suddenly like you kind of were 50-50 on that, and then afterwards like one of you get greedy, got greedy, and you realize kind of, okay, it's not that I'm screwing that guy, but maybe my friend wants to take more, but we kind of work together on this idea. So I think having this mechanism in place from the very beginning, it's kind of programmable ownership, so to speak, composable ownership. But putting it into this, it would allow us to have that perfect 50-50 thing, or if it's not a 50-50 thing, or if we sell this to bigger markets, if we export our IPs into the bigger markets and just try to sell them and earn royalties passively. So for me, this is kind of the biggest thing, because even today during our meeting, we had some crazy ideas and crazy news that we'll share later with the community, hopefully very soon. How we can just help people who have great ideas, but they are either afraid to start or they cannot start because they don't have money. So lots of amazing. But for me, I would say copyrights, royalties, all these things are like the most fascinating, like root causes for the whole thing. I don't know, AJ, Mikhail, what's on your mind?
Yeah, totally. I talk quite a bit about copyright ownership, even on my own channel, like on Twitter and stuff. But when it comes to number one, the top two, so one would be the real estate, powerful use case, and not too sure about my fellow Europeans and other uh, individuals from different walks of life and ethnicities and cultures around the world, but in more of the North American markets, real estate is, I mean, personally, someone like me with a financial background, I mean, I can personally say that we are in a crazy bubble right now. Um, um, as we know, like interest rates have been hiking, and as well as the inflation rates,
Yes.
and there's just huge whales, huge, huge investors, entities that own large parts of the real estate markets, and even just here in Toronto, it's insane what I've been looking into, and being like a young guy, you know going 25 to 50, I mean, like, I want to own as well. Like, I want to own real estate, but it's getting harder because you have more rather wealthier people owning the market, and therefore diminishing the opportunity for younger people to at least own just one house, for to start a family, to start whatever. So I feel it's interesting because I was listening to a recent video on the metaverse by Polkadot, and it featured Remarks, Bruno, and also Unique Networks, Alexander, I believe that's his name. Um, and they were talking about more of the virtual land aspect when it comes to the quote unquote metaverse, which, by the way, isn't a metaverse. But I feel that with InvArch and this whole powerful real world use case with real estate, I feel that being able to, like it says here in the Eduseries, have the ownership divided into multiple shares. I feel not only is that an opportunity for people to basically, like, lower the barrier to entry when it comes to real estate ownership, but also I feel like it can be. I'm not too sure if this was ever explored at all, but this is from my personal thinking. This isn't officialized by InvArch in any way, but I feel like this also could be used as a tool to basically, like, maybe bring some resolution to the whole real estate market in the real world, to the whole, like, bubble issue, and to basically more so regress the greedy the greedy the greedy ownership that we see, and like provide more opportunities to young people. When it comes to joint financing, you know, again, having that financial banking experience, that I have in my track record. I mean, when you do joint financing on something, let's say it's a car, or let's say it's a house or whatnot, by pooling your resources into a joint debt, you save a significant amount of money, both like on the upfront and over the lifetime of the loan, like over, like, for example, like if it's like a balloon payment. So upfront would be the down payment, and then the lifetime would be referring to the lower interest rates.
Right.
So like with joint financing, I mean, whether it's debt, or whether in the Eduseries it was more referring to like financing like a project, or like financing an idea, financing an initiative. I think it brings a lot of solutions to both sides of joint debt and like joint financing as well. So those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, if it goes for me, personally, I think the best benefit for us is like it's all transparent. So it's not no matter what what example you will take, but so if it is on chain, you don't need to go, like deep dive into it and understand all these papers, all these lawyers, and everything. You just check the smart contract, understand all the shares, everything, like it's very useful, so and transparent, and this is the biggest benefit for me. Just like in any use case, if you go to real estate and joint financing, you can take any smart contract and understand who's participating, who's getting the shares and everything like this. I think that will make much more easier a lot of things for just guys like you and me, just the regular ones, when you can just open the contract, understand all the rules, not like going to lawyers and doing all this
Yes,
paperwork.
yes,
And
100%.
it's like that's quite cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I know at least in the United States and in most countries in the northern hemisphere, it is a pretty hefty fine, or I guess penny, I would say, to protect your IP or even get the ball rolling on getting something started in that direction. So, um, InvArch is definitely going to be, I believe, a need. Honestly, it's more of just like it. We need something like this. The system is just too outdated thus far. Um, excuse me. But even like scaled staking, that was something else like we were talking about in our meeting earlier, was staking, allowing for somebody, like as this example here says, um, let's say for every 10,800 blocks a user stakes 100 plus IPT1s, they're given an IPT2, and then for every IPT2 a user holds, they're going to get a 0.25% increase in staking rewards, and that caps out at a certain amount, and this example being 5%. Allowing people to know that they're going to be getting a raise if they can, like, consistently give contributions. I think that's incredible, and I think that'll be another really big aspect for adoption of our protocol overall. Um, does anybody else on the team have any more to comment on possibly anything related to the DAO structures or security firewalls? If not, we are ready to move into the next chapter.
Yeah, let's move.
All right, sounds good. So, going into scalable incentivized proof of attendance, a new fair and trustless economic system, or as we like to call it, SIPAnomics. This is a simple example for the sake of the video, trying to give an explanation of what it looks like. Now we challenge our readers to bring their big brain energy and think outside of the block. Prepare yourself, for we are now going to introduce a new powerful economic system to our readers and listeners. The name of this system is SIPAnomics, or Scalable Incentivized Proof of Attendance Economics. The significance of SIPAnomics is its potential to provide a genuinely fair economic system for national and global economies, one that isn't just ideal in theory, but is also sound in practice. So let's get into it. You must understand what a proof of attendance protocol is, as scalable incentivized proof of attendance protocols are a more advanced version of POAPs, or proof of attendance protocol. Um, just for quick explanation, proof of attendance protocol, like as the article here provides a link to CoinDesk for a simple explanation, they've emerged as a new way of keeping immutable records of your life experiences, including virtual and in-person events. So, with that in mind, first let's review some points that many of our readers may find relatable. Individuals do not like to be starved of the fruits of their labor. Obscurity around promotion, tracks, and raises makes them hard to come by. Women are often paid less than men for the same work provided. Individuals are often paid less than others, depending on their location. Many employees help build successful companies that they never own, and rewarding those who do not contribute discourages participation. By listing these points, we hope that our readers will understand some of the current flaws of economic systems found throughout the world today. We'll begin by reviewing the core components of a SIPA protocol. SIPA protocols can feature more fungible components than what is about to be listed. However, the following three assets help provide the most basic conceptualization for a successful SIPA model. Ownership tokens. Fungible tokens representing legal ownership. Currency tokens. Fungible tokens representing a payment medium. And SIPA tokens. Fungible tokens representing proof of contributions. With these core components noted, we can now dive into the world of possibilities with SIPAnomics. This article will cover 3 SIPA protocol examples, each more complex than the previous example. These examples are provided in the form of SIPA equations, each of which is explained further. Please note that these are just 3 examples out of the near endless amount of possibilities. The following variables are defined. IPT0 equals ownership tokens. IPT1 equals currency tokens. IPT2 equals SIPA tokens. SG equals SIPA gain. BT equals block time. BM equals benchmark. I equals interval. And the dollar sign represents currency payment. So SIPA protocol example 1 would be your block time equals benchmark. That turns into an IPT1 plus equals the currency payment, 1 plus IPT2, BM plus equals I. This is the equation right here. Let's say that every 10,800 blocks, approximately 1 week, an employee or project participant is provided a regular base salary in the form of IPT1 currency assets. When the block time hits the interval benchmark, IPT1 tokens are distributed. This is similar to vested payments, and the benchmark is increased by the 10,800 blocks. Now let's imagine that this is a position for a software developer and that there's an agreement, controlled via a smart contract, that provides one IPT2 or SIPA token for every 25 lines of code that is pushed and merged using the InvArch network's upcoming flagship application, GitArch, to the project IP set. Now, let's imagine further that each IPT2 is worth a value of 0.01. We now have a system where payment structures are transparent and trustless. Excuse me. Salary raises can exist. As the developer successfully contributes to the project or business, they can gain SIPA tokens as they contribute. As they accumulate SIPA tokens, their base IPT1 or salary increases in real time and scales with their performance. This is similar to gaining like damage buffs and or a multiplier in a video game as you continue to hit your streak. So without going into the next example yet, I just wanted to talk about the significance of this. So it's talking about, as it says here, basically a guaranteed position. If it hits this benchmark and you've contributed X amount of like actual contributions to the project, the IP set, then you are automatically passively getting the ownership because of your contributions. Whenever we heard about SIPAnomics from our technical team coming up with this concept, they introduced it to the marketing team in a meeting. We were quite literally blown away by it. We kind of felt like one of those memes where it was like we were trying to wrap our mind around it, and it was really difficult at first to understand. The more that the more that we dove into it with the technical team, and they broke it down for us, we realized just how revolutionary this protocol will be in and of itself. Guys, do you have anything else you want to comment about how revolutionary you believe SIPA will be?
I'm just like, the more I think about it every time, the more I see it, like not just in working way with like you work with somebody and you own the SIPA tokens, sorry. But if you just like think about our general life, so in a lot of countries, you have the pensions, yeah, when you are retired, and the government pays you some pension. And this is like the same way you can implement in this. So, especially in Russia, yeah, to have a pension, you have to prove your work experience. So, like 30, 40 years of working. And if you will prove it, the government will pay you some kind of pension. And here, it's always very hard to prove all this experience because some documents are lost or some records are lost and everything like this. So every time it's a pain in the ass. And if you have the thing like SIPAnomics, so if you worked a year and on a blockchain you have the record, the token, ding, 1 year, next year, plus 1 token plus 3 tokens, and in the end you have those number of tokens that are proving that you did it, and this is written on the blockchain, so nobody can take it from you. It cannot be lost, it cannot be deleted, and everything like this. So this is a very powerful tool that you can provide in anything, in any life situation, as well as, if you work in some, like, I don't know, with nuclear, on the nuclear power plant, yeah, and 1 year there counts as 2, and you have this different SIPA token, yeah, like advanced one, and like that's mind blowing, really. This is like my point of view. How can you use it as well?
Yeah, I totally agree. AJ, Mindaugas, do you have anything to add on SIPAnomics?
I couldn't say anything more than Mikhail just said. Yeah, it's a rabbit hole, to be honest. Every time I look at it, I try to comprehend it myself, but really, guys, you have to read it many times before you need to understand. Even like, to be very honest with you, even for many Russian-speaking community members here, I think Mikhail just needs to do like a rough translation. What does it mean, just to get it as well. It's at the same time super simple, but at the same time it's super
Complex.
might be super complex.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's kind of hard to tell, but like when you get that wow, aha moment, like you'll see how many opportunities are there.
Yeah, I certainly it was definitely that one, as well as the on-chain resume potential now. Like, as what was Electrovenic was talking about, how everything that you're doing is stored on the blockchain, so nobody can say, hey, he did not do that. All of this progress that you do for these companies, these IP sets, these blockchains, whatever it may be, whenever you're doing that and it's all stored, it will act as an on-chain resume. So I know that's one of the things that made me really excited, because having to have, when you go to get a new job or a new career and whatever it may be, having to provide a resume sometimes can be pretty stressful for somebody who has either worked like 10 different jobs in the last 5 years or something like that. They have to list all that experience, these types of things. Having on-chain resumes automatically built for whatever it might be that it is that you're doing career field wise, having that stored there without you even having to really do it yourself, because the chain's documenting it as you go, I think that is just monumental. It'll make not only verifying for the companies that want to hire participants or potential employees, they won't have to question whether your background is legit and go calling your former employers and asking for, a reference to call and speak to about your character, these types of things. These things will all be documented on a blockchain and be able to be seen. So it'll be, in my opinion, I think that is going to be one of the biggest things as well that comes from SIPAnomics. Going into the next two examples, SIPA protocol example 2. AJ, did you have something to comment as well?
Oh yeah, sorry. I just think as a whole, SIPAnomics is going to be very, very revolutionary, especially for alluding to the subject and the phenomenon of discrimination on all fronts when it comes to the workplace, the workforce, in many places of employment. I mean, a bigger notable example would be Amazon and how they treat their workers, and how hourly workers are actually there's a policy in place where they cannot move up the corporate ladders, so to speak, or like the ladder from like the Amazon warehouse to a more like leadership position. And a lot of those workers are, whether it's given the benefit of the doubt, like I don't think Jeff Bezos targeted ever more of the BIPOC or AAPI community, and other colored people, other people of color, but a lot of those hourly workers are people of color, and it's just a shame to see how, I mean, not just how they're treated from more of a policy standpoint, but even like if you dive in deeper into their experiences and like what they encounter and what they have to go through physically, mentally, in those warehouses while as a driver. Um, um, there's a lot more like injustices that I could exemplify when it comes to the labor force, but I think with SIPAnomics, and I mean, just as Casey mentioned with on-chain resumes, but not even just that, but I mean, going back to the trustless pay scales as well. So like, you know, your work, your output, right? The output that you make known to your employer, to your entire team, to the company, you know, it's truly fairly compensated. It's you're paid in a much better way because it's in reference to, you know, like, are you actually working or not? So
Right.
so I think it will revolutionize, again, like I said in like the beginning. I think it will revolutionize the way that we work, but also the way that corporations, the way that employers from all sizes, from small businesses to local shops, all the way to big conglomerates, how we treat humans, how we treat each other, how we treat our employees. I think it'll be just insane, just amazing. So
I agree.
Can I add one thing?
Absolutely.
Just like imagine like you coming to a restaurant and there's a waiter and he's very good, so you like his work and you want to tip him, but you tip him not with money, but you give him a token, and when he collects like 10 of those tokens, he has an automatic pay rise because he works good. Like this is like a different approach, as well as, yeah, like if you play like Red Dead Redemption, you have like those graph, yeah, how good or how bad you are, and here it could like be as well as the same. So if you are good at work, people like your work, they can give you some tokens, kind of tokens, and that will higher your rating, and that will higher your salary or position. Just it's crazy, really crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty mind blowing when you stop to sit down and think about all, like, as the article says, the possibilities truly are almost limitless when you stop to think about it. You can basically fit almost any concept or idea inside of a SIPAnomic. Um, Going into the next two examples, um, let's continue with our developer from the first SIPA protocol. Now, let's say that in addition to the developer's base salary model, every 10,800 blocks, approximately once a week, the developer's total SIPA token IPT2 holdings are referenced. If the total number of SIPA tokens has reached a preset threshold, then a new ownership token, or IPT0, is minted and administered to the developer. We now have a system where growth tracks are transparent and trustless. Promotional opportunities can exist. Individuals need not worry or question whether they will see increases in their living standards as time passes and they dedicate themselves to a project or business. They won't need to worry about discrimination on any basis. All they will need to be concerned about is where they can best contribute and receive the best SIPA contract possible. This is similar to gaining experience and bonus multipliers in a video game until eventually unlocking a bonus item or achievement that grants permanent benefits. Um, Going right into the next example, let's finish using that same developer from the past SIPA protocol examples. Now, let's say that in addition to the developer's base salary model, every 10,800 blocks, or approximately the 1 week mark, the developer's SIPA gains, SG, are checked. Suppose the SIPA gains, a reflection of how much the developer contributed over the last week, are below a certain threshold that must be reached. In that case, the developer can also have SIPA tokens taken away. We now have a system where laziness can be trustlessly addressed and penalized. Projects and companies do not need to worry about their management getting lazy or growing complacent in their roles. Individuals are incentivized to contribute. However, agreements can be in place, so a decline in contribution can cause SIPA benefits to decline. This could be used similarly in a video game as having a multiplier bonus in place that slowly starts to count down as if you fail to continue some type of streak, for example.
Casey, just wanted to interrupt you. I think it's very good chapter that you just read, especially like I love the laziness can be trustlessly addressed and penalized. I think this is like it's
Huge.
like with the same like waiter, that he did a great job, and then we have like this good cop bad cop situation where like
Exactly.
there's somebody who's slacking, who's doing something, but there's like no micromanagement. It's kind of it reminds me of meritocracy in a way. Like it's better. It's the next level of meritocracy because it's written in code. It's not like it's not that, we have decided that we're going to play by the rules, but we are actually not playing by the rules because we might be corrupted, like in those Batman movies where like Gotham is always corrupted. There is something always with the human mind, right? But like in this case, I would say like this in a very simple, vulgar way. The code don't have the feelings, they just don't. It's built that way. It's open sourced. Everybody knows what kind of rules they are having, and if you'll play by those rules, you'll be penalized. I know that some of you might think, it's something like Black Mirror or Squid Game or something where like there are like exact rules, but like those rules are intact, so everybody could be penalized in the same way. I think we are going in this kind of way where like you'll do good and you'll be rewarded. You'll do bad, you'll be penalized, but it's in a trustless way. So there is like no manager that you should be angry about because you were penalized. It's the code itself. I kind of like this idea. I know it sounds, I'm not saying it sounds utopian or something out of the Black Mirror, but at the same time, I think it fixes certain problems with typical human psychology.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give this a shout out.
Mindaugas, I will add some things. Even, sometimes there are, like, if you work in a company and the boss has like his friend or relative working with him, there's always like the special treatment. And here, there will be no special treatment. You see all the works and he has to earn his position. This is like very good. This is completely transparent.
Mm-hmm.
Casey?
Okay. Yeah, I will go ahead now. Go right into so with that in mind, the power and potential of SIPAnomics, to name a few. Enterprise models, businesses, projects, and all kinds of organizations can have their employee and participant structure, including pay agreements and performance monitoring, automatically managed in a transparent fashion that helps prevent discrimination. This can all be done while incentivizing participation. Trustless pay scales. Across Web3, individuals can find peace of mind with transparent compensation agreements. Wages and SIPA rates, which reflect salary multipliers, can be set and executed trustlessly by smart contracts. The path to promotions can be clear, and individuals will be able to earn their raises in real time rather than wait to ask for a raise and potentially be turned down or face retaliation. On-chain resumes, this is one of the ones that I was super excited about. Experience working on projects will be verifiable and recorded. SIPA tokens can be used as a baseline for determining experience. Employers will no longer need to question the validity of a candidate's work history, and skilled individuals will be able to stand out easily. In the future, SIPA tokens can also have a specific data attached to them, such as what position the SIPA token is being rewarded towards. These tokens can be weighted depending on the project's success that administer the SIPA tokens and can be used to establish career ranks throughout the entire ecosystem. Rank management. SIPA protocols can hypothetically feature ranks as well. Imagine a marketing manager who earns SIPA tokens. Every 50 SIPA tokens could earn them an IPT3 token that reflects a rank level. 1 IPT3 equals rank 1, 2 IPT3s equals rank 2, and 5 IPT3s equals rank 3, and so on. Ranks could come with additional optional rewards, such as permanent increases to their base salary, special access to exclusive communities, or act as an identifier of a veteran contributor, something along these lines. DAO participation. For those of you who are members of a DAO, or a few, you are likely familiar with the practice of a DAO having different roles for different members. Sometimes these roles are used to administer various levels of admin rights. Sometimes they are used to identify the responsibilities of certain members. Sometimes they're used to identify active and affluent members of a DAO. And finally, DAO structuring. Additionally, DAOs often have tokens with their own one-size-fits-all utility, funding, access, and governance being considered. With a SIPA protocol, all of these processes can be revolutionized by streamlining them and making them transparent. You can easily provide growth tracks for DAO members. A DAO can have a fungible token representing voting rights and a utility token used as a currency medium to fund ventures. Finally, they could have another token representing fractional IP from those funded projects. The beauty of SIPAnomics is that it is immensely political economic system that will not require a revolution for its adoption. We believe that all it will take is the fall of one single domino. So they listed a couple more examples that we didn't necessarily talk about. One of them that is also, I think, is super important is like DAO structuring. These types of autonomous organizations that are coming more and more popular as Web3 is becoming more of an adopted concept. I think this will be really big. I think DAOs adopting SIPAnomics, like for example, you have like Chaos DAO, things like that. I believe them adopting SIPAnomics is kind of, in a sense, almost inevitable. When they realize that the potential of this is going to be so effortlessly easy for them to adopt and also use in real time to help track all kinds of different analytics that is, like as we describe it, trustless. It doesn't require a human to sit there and monitor. The code in the chain does it for us, and it doesn't lie. So I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the SIPAnomics is just how trustless we truly can be with it, and how it takes that, as you would say, Mindaugas, you were talking about, the waiter. Let's say, for example, the waiter was being lazy and he wasn't doing his job, and maybe he was like trying to snatch some tips up at the end of the night. That kind of thing would all be able to be tracked in this type of environment, this ecosystem, right? So you could very easily confront that person and say, hey, you weren't doing what you were expected to do. And if you fall below a certain threshold, again, you'll just be terminated. Or if you stay in this threshold for X amount of time, there might be this punishment associated with that. And all those different things can be, discussed on. These are all optional things to include.
Yeah. And Casey, to add, I'll give you one better. Like, you don't need even to meet the guy. Like, let's say I'm a manager and I don't like to be a bad guy. I don't want to tell the bad news. Like, the code automatically will push the warning message. You don't need to go in front of the guy and say you did a bad thing. So let's say there's another downside, right? Like, you don't show your emotions or something, it becomes automated. But like, let's say you don't want to have hard conversations because it might ruin your relationships with that kind of person, or
Right.
I don't know, like you don't have time for those people, but they know why they were like exactly penalized. And let's say there was a mistake in the code. Since everything is on the blockchain, you can go back and see, what has been done. So all this transparency gives us actually another way to kind of, let's say I don't like to have hard conversations. Let's say the guy was penalized 10 times in a row, and it equals to him being kicked out, like saying you are fired.
Right.
That's another unfortunate event, right? But we need to speak about it, like how we can fix that. That's totally another discussion, another thing. So yeah,
Right. I think it's
do hope.
I think it's awesome because as it will be forcing the responsibility and accountability aspect that, as you say, is kind of awkward sometimes when you're in a management position. If you know somebody's slacking, or you're hearing somebody in the workplace say so and so isn't doing their job the way that they should be, you wouldn't have to go to them in person and say, hey, why aren't you doing your job? You can just review the chain, see whether or not that's true, and allow either the chain itself to address it when the time comes, when that hits that certain benchmark, or you can, in that boss authoritarian position, go to them and say, hey, you're going to be penalized. I was looking at your SIPAnomics, and why aren't you doing so great? Let's have this conversation.
Yeah, I just thought about a little bit different usage. So imagine you're a car company and you have like some models of cars. I don't know, Tesla, you produce Tesla. And like for every 100,000 miles the Tesla run without the maintenance service, it gets a token. And so by the end of the year, you can understand how many your cars are running out of without breakage, yeah, and you have those ratings, and you can prove. So when you just go to a store and you want to buy a Tesla, and they said like, are they reliable? And like the Tesla can say yes, and you can look on chain that this amount of cars run that much kilometers or miles without the breakage and everything like this. So it's completely transparent system. So tokens can be earned not only by humans but by anything at all. So anything you want to track, you can track by tokens, and it will be on chain, completely transparent. Just like an example.
I think that's another, unrealized use case right there. I think that you're pitching. I think that's brilliant. I know as far as like marketing goes, for, as you listed in your example, car companies, that would be monumental. Being able to just say, hey, not only are we talking big about how sound our cars are, how awesome they are, but you can also look at these statistics that are inarguable, and you can see, hey, we are the best car company here on this side of the globe, or whatever. Um, but thank you guys so much for your commentary. Let me go ahead and dive into the next chapter, a glimpse into the future, innovation and economics powered by the InvArch network. Let's take the power of the InvArch network further and explore the realities of the InvArch parachain in conjunction with the power of another Polkadot parachain, Akala. Akala AUSD in the InvArch ecosystem. Here's a short little link to an article explaining Akala if you are not familiar with them. To those who are not yet familiar with Akala, or ACA, you should get acquainted because it is extremely powerful. The Akala network is the DeFi hub of the Polkadot ecosystem, which provides a suite of innovative DeFi tools and services. One of the defining features of the Akala network is AUSD, the Akala USD stablecoin. The Akala network's AUSD is a decentralized, multi-collateral, crypto-backed stablecoin. Here is the InvArch network's vision for AUSD in our ecosystem. IPT tokens are minted and bonded to the Varch token. These IPTs can have a value that is backed by Varch tokens. Users can collateralize their IPT tokens and earn network rewards, and collateralized IPTs can be used to mint the AUSD stablecoin. Here's another link to an article talking about Polkadot parachains and venture funds team up to launch a 250 million AUSD ecosystem fund. This isn't just a strong use case for AUSD in the InvArch ecosystem. This is a supercharged path for mass adoption of the AUSD stablecoin globally. As the number of projects using SIPAnomics, a feature that will extend to all welcoming parachains, not just InvArch, grows, so does the AUSD economy. Projects would be able to collateralize their IPTs backed by Varch and earn interest on their assets while also using them to mint AUSD. This vision provides a consistent, stable currency to conduct business transactions and helps keep innovation moving forward. As far as AUSD goes and allowing them, like how we envision them using them in our ecosystem, this is a very, very powerful concept that we've developed. I know Electrovinic has talked a lot about AUSD. Electrovenic, do you have any comment on how you believe this will be extremely beneficial to not only our project, but Akala's as well?
Yeah, I think it will, because all the stable coins and everything like this, so you can really stake them to get characterized and everything. I didn't deep dive that deep. I didn't talk a lot about AUSD, to be honest, Casey. So I'm just quite new on this system. So maybe
let me guys give you a small treat. I think in the very near future you'll hear more and very much more about AUSD thing and Akala and InvArch. So yeah, I don't want to say anything yet. I think when the time will be right, you will be the first one exclusively to hear all the details. I think let's leave it with a small teaser. Akala, AUSD, InvArch, what might happen, I'm not saying anything, I'm not confirming anything, not breaking any news, nothing. But as we said, lots of partnerships are coming, and I would say let's leave it. Let's keep the guys interested, and I think we'll kind of we'll see how the SIPAnomics and how everything fits into this very, very soon.
Right. All right, guys.
Yeah, that's my point here as well.
Check this out. So remember the SIPA protocol example 1? Let's say that a project consists of IPT0 tokens, which represent ownership, and governance tokens. Additionally, the project uses separate IPT1 tokens to reward those contributing to its development. Rewards for individuals who contribute towards that project aren't IPT0 because they would presumably need to sell them, which would lower the token's value and hurt the project. IPT1 tokens are minted and backed by Varch or even by the IPT0 tokens, giving them value. IPT1 tokens are then collateralized to mint AUSD. This locks up the IPT1 tokens and the Varch or IPT0 tokens bonded to them. AUSD backed by a project's IPT1 tokens can then be provided to 1. Provide a stable currency with multi-chain utility, and 2. Lock the value of the project's base token and increase its value. The more a user contributes to a project, the more IPT2 tokens they can receive. Sorry, that is a mouthful. In this example, IPT2 tokens would act as SIPA tokens. This increases their base salary as they contribute, incentivizing their efforts and providing compensation rates trustly. With the InvArch network, AUSD can become the indisputable stablecoin of choice for the Polkadot ecosystem, help provide the most potent DeFi services to developers, and offer a consistent medium of exchange for all of Web3. Looking towards the future and the next InvArch Eduseries. We've said it before, and we'll say it again. InvArch is anything but another blockchain project. InvArch reinvents many fundamental concepts found throughout Web 3.0 and takes them to new heights. As a result, new doors of opportunity are opened in abundance. Non-fungible tokens, hello internationally compliant and fully composable IP files, sets, and subsets. Refungible tokens, hello multi-layered fungible subassets pegged to the same IP set. Proof of attendance protocols, hello SIPAnomics. Next week, we will jump right into the future of decentralized funding for IP dApps. So we are going to be releasing in the very near future InvArch Eduseries 5. It is in development. So whenever that is released, we will allow the community to read it, and then we will, of course, provide a live reading just like this. But that brings us to the end of Eduseries 4 and its live reading. Electrovenic, Mindaugas, I want to thank you guys for coming out. Is there anything else you guys want to say to the community before we sign off and end this video?
I think I just wanted to thank everyone for coming in, and for Russian-speaking community, I think Mikhail will have a separate one overview and weekly update in the coming days. Is it, Mikhail, is it tomorrow or day after tomorrow?
Yeah, it will happen tomorrow. So we will review the updates and we go
Eduseries and have a talk like we usually do.
All right. Well, guys, if you're part of the Russian community, you heard Mikhail say he's going to be doing a little powwow in your all's channel tomorrow as well. So be sure to attend that. If that's the end of it and nobody has any questions, I don't see any questions posted in the InvArch Tech Lounge. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for coming out. You guys have been an awesome audience. You've hung out with us for close to an hour now. So thank you guys for hanging out and being such an awesome audience. We do look forward to the next live reading of Eduseries 5 after it is released, and we will keep you guys updated as things keep coming to us in the future. All right, guys, thank you all so much, and I'll catch you next